Welcome back to Fullerton College's Print 75 and 77 Combined Pre-Press class. This is your professor, Ben Hewitt, and today I'm going to show you some demonstrations for this week's project of laying out a lot of text into a pamphlet, and we're going to be using some advanced text controls and some very interesting automation controls built into InDesign that are very powerful and far-reaching in their implications. I say this not just to sound dramatic, but because I really do find these things interesting. These abilities are great for curtailing having to do a lot of handwork by yourself. Anytime you can make a machine do the boring stuff, I say make the machine do the boring stuff. First off, I sent you guys a link in your assignment to projectgutenberg.com or .org, I think it is. I forget which one it is. I always just Google it, to be honest. Project Gutenberg is a repository online full of as many books as people have been able to upload. They have created free downloadable texts of every single piece of literature that is outside of copyright restrictions. If it's still copyrighted, you're not going to get it. So if you're going on there hoping for something like the Twilight series or any Star Wars fiction books, you're just not going to get them because someone owns those copyrights. But if you want the complete works of Charles Dickens, if you're a fan of Hemingway, if you want to read Dana's 2 Years Before the Mast for free, there it all is. It's good stuff. I've downloaded a bit of a nerdy historic pamphlet that we're going to use to create a pamphlet, even though we're not going to use all the text. So let's take a look at this. So if we go to our controls on our toolbar here, we're going to grab the T, which is our type tool. I'm building a type box to the margin lines just because it's a convenient line to line up to. This is, of course, on an 8.5 by 11 letter size sheet. And now I'm able to type my type here, but I'm not going to. Somebody far better at writing already wrote something, so I'm going to do an interesting thing here. If you select it inside a text box, you can do a file place, just like you were going to place an image inside an image box. There's my dogs. Thanks, guys. They bark at everything, and they're not too bright. I forgive them when I imagine them wearing matching propeller beanies and think of them as the Tweedle brothers. Suddenly it's all okay. Silly dogs. Okay, now I've wasted a few seconds. You do File Place or Command D, and you're going to choose what you're going to bring. The supplied document for you is Common Sense, which is an important historic pamphlet written by Thomas Paine during the American Revolution, helping to crystallize the understanding and the resolve of the American revolutionaries that yes, in fact, we wanted to be an independent state, no longer tied to the colonial rule of Great Britain. And I happen to be a huge nerd about that particular period of history. Ask me sometime, and I will probably out myself as a far bigger nerd than you even realized. And you already know I'm pretty big at this whole nerd thing. Anyways, so Common Sense is a good one. Open. And you'll notice now that it has pasted a ton of text in here. Let's look at a few things on this page. If I zoom in, you might notice, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see it on your screen here. I'm not actually able to do, I don't think, zoom in on it, but you can see where my mouse is big. There's a little red box with a plus in it. In this particular case, the plus does not mean better. The plus means overset text. We did this on purpose, so fear not. We have created more text than can possibly fit into one text box. It's more than one page of text. Some of the stuff may still need to be deleted. For instance, I'm probably going to go through and edit some of the top of this text. So some of this stuff is information about the text from Gutenberg that I accidentally included, so you'll want to get rid of that too. So I'm going to delete all this up here. Now we start with the title by the person, and it goes into the whole series of what he's saying. Cool. We also already know that this is supposed to be a 4-page document, so, oh no, I messed up. Can you believe that? I went and made a 1-page document, and I need to make a 4-page document. How can I fix this? Let me show you one of my very favorite tools in InDesign. In fact, my favorite tools in life, you might notice a trend here, are the ones that let you go back and fix the mistakes you made the first time. If only life had tools like this where you say, oh, I totally screwed that up, but now I can do a quick undo. So there's undos that'll undo the work you've been working on, but what if you messed up on the setup of the document and it's too late to go back? Well, I'm leading the witness. It's not too late to go back. If you go to File, document setup or Option Command P, it brings you back to the document setup page. And this little menu that pops up is basically the same one you got when you first opened the program and you said new document. This lets me make changes after the fact. I can go back and change the orientation. I can change the page size, something I prefer. I can add or remove facing pages. I can change the number of pages to 4, which I'm going to do. Bleed and slug are not required for this project because this project is about text control. However, if you choose to add graphics and you choose to make them full bleed, please make use of the bleed space and do it properly. So facing pages, number 4, let's go see what it does. Boom. So now I have 4 pages. If I zoom out, you can see they are laid out in this kind of Tetris-y shape here of these 4 pages. The first page is set up on the right. Then the middle pages of my 4-page document are set up as a spread, because when you open up a single sheet of paper that's been folded in half, that's how it looks. And you see the 2 middle, and you also see the last one on the other side. This is the difference between facing pages and non-facing. Let me show you non-facing for a second. If I uncheck facing pages, your pages are all lined up vertically like this. What's the difference, you ask? I'm glad you asked. The only difference is how it shows it to you while you're working on it. Okay, there's 1 or 2 other small differences. You got me. But mainly, it's all about how you see it while you're working with it on the computer. When you output this as a PDF and then print it on a press, you have the same exact controls over the PDF later on. What Facing Pages does for you is make it easy to work on spreads. So if you want any images that go across the crease in the middle of that spread of pages, this lets you do it. It also lets you get a better sense, if you're making a book, of how things work. Facing Pages is great if you're making a pamphlet or a booklet or a book or a magazine or a catalog that has lots of pages, is going to be bound as a book. Individual pages is better if you're making things like playing cards like we did last time, because then you don't have to wonder where the next thing is and they're all lined up in a nice easy vertical. So if you're putting things in the same place on multiple pages, you can very easily do that if they're all lined up. Facing Pages is correct this time. Okay, so now let me click on that little using my black selector arrow, let me click on that little red plus. Check this out. So if I take that overset text, you can now see on my cursor that my cursor has kind of, if I make it bigger, it doesn't show the whole thing, shows my cursor has some text attached to it. So now I'm going to take that, click and drag and make a new text box. And look, the story continues. I can then click on the next part and the story continues. This is Amazeballs. Click on the text box, story continues. If anyone is ambitious and wants to take it to its natural conclusion, you can do the entire book. Gasp, you say, that's a lot of work. Well, not really. I'm going to show you the next bit on the next video about how to make this a rather simple project that seems very complex. Thanks for watching, and tune in for the next video coming along shortly.